So Gigi, obviously you were born in Luton, and then you made the move up to the north. How was that experience for you?
Different, yeah. I'd always been at home with my family, lived at home with my family and stuff, and I'd never moved away. So to come on loan to a place as far away as the northeast from Luton at the time was a big move. As a 23-year-old, I think was at the time. So it was a big move for me. But ultimately, looking back, probably the best thing in terms of my footballing career that I ever did. In terms of being out of my comfort zone and coming to the northeast, a place I didn't really know much about, but I had a great 8 years at Gateshead, and what turned from 1 month loan into an 8-year stint at a football club is quite remarkable. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Really enjoyed it, and something that I think was the biggest part of my career.
And what was it like joining Gateshead? Because obviously that was the first club you joined when you came up. Yeah. So what was that whole experience like?
Amazing. Yeah, I played under a manager who I regard as the best I've ever played under in Gary Mills, and a terrific man, a terrific manager, a terrific coach, and we obviously had a great season that year where we got to Wembley in the playoff final and stuff. So to come up to a club that was doing so well and do really well within that environment, and a changing environment in terms of people and location, like I said, being away from my family was something that put me in good stead for not just my career but for life really, and sort of making me grow up, because I'd lived at home my whole life. I'd never known anything else, and coming home to sort of my mum and dad, so being away from home, it was a great learning experience, but more importantly it was a sort of helped me grow as a person, as a player. So I joined a great change room. I think that helped a lot, and I think looking back, that change room was what probably kept me here as a player. So a terrific few years I had, but that first year was probably the main reason why I'm here, still here today.
Yeah. Personally, I've met Gary. He's a lovely man. How did you feel? Obviously joining Gateshead, he was the manager. What was he like as a manager?
The best, simply the best. The way he managed people, the way he wanted to play, the way he was with players, the way he was with me he's the best. And anyone ever asked me who the best manager is I played under, it's Gary Mills, because you walked on the pitch every single time he was playing, and he made you feel like you were the best player in the world. And the confidence he gave you, he was very ambitious. He was a proper manager. You knew where you stood with him, and I think that's really important in terms of manager. But he gave you such a freedom to play, and enjoyment to excel and express yourself, and it just shows how well he done with Little Gateshead, getting us to Wembley. And we fell just short, but as a man and as a person, he's the best I've ever worked under.
And you mentioned Wembley. What was the whole experience like? Wembley.
Incredible. Yeah, I grew up 4 miles from Wembley, so I grew up in North London, which was every day on my morning walk to school I could see Wembley. It was the old Twin Towers at the time, but you'd walk it and you'd see the ground. And my dream as a child, many children would have the same dreams when I was playing on the park, and you pretend you're at Wembley scoring goals, and to step out there at 23 was a lifelong ambition for me, and to have all my family there, growing up just 4 miles from the ground and eventually going on to play there was something that will always be with me. And not many people can say they've played at Wembley, but to be a boy from North London and play at arguably one of the best stadiums in the world is incredible. And we didn't quite get the result we wanted, but it's a memory and a fond memory that I can always look back on.
And there's one moment I want to talk about with the time at Gateshead, and it's that halfway line goal. What was it like? What was going through your head?
It's really strange. I've been asked this a few times, but yes, it was a good strike. Yes, I've connected well, but I say this a lot, but I think as a footballer, and having played the game as long as I have, it's on a lot more than people think, in terms of if you turn possession over in the middle of the pitch, their goalkeeper's naturally on the edge of his box. So if you've got the technique and you've got the power to be able to strike a ball that far, I genuinely believe it's on better than it's not. And don't get me wrong, I've had a few other attempts which have gone nowhere near the goal, but luckily that one, when we played in the Durham Senior Cup, it's come off, and a great striker, a strike that I still look back on now. But I've had more attempts missed than have gone in, but I like to think that it's an easier chance than what people sometimes make out to be. But luckily I executed that one. It's a goal I will always remember.
And when I was looking at the footage, I stumbled across an article, and I didn't even know this myself, but it was the kit manager role.
Yeah, so in 2015 I was diagnosed with a foot injury, which I was told I might never play again. So 3 years rehabilitation is what I went through to get back playing. But in the meantime, Gateshead were brilliant with me and giving me the kit man's role. So that game then was when I was on my way back to playing, really. So I was being the kit man as well as a player. And it's quite funny really that everyone thinks the kit man scored, but in hindsight I was still the kit man, but I was also a player. But the media and stuff like that look a lot more on the kit man side of it, as it seems like the kit man scored. But yeah, it was a surreal moment. You had loads of people asking if it literally was just the kit man who'd played for a game and scored a goal like that. But I was as much a player as I was a kit man.
Yeah, and then after Gateshead, you joined Blyth, which you currently are now. What was that experience like?
Different, yeah. It's the first time I've been really part-time in my career, apart from when I was a young boy of 17. But it's totally different. But I think at the time in my life and the time in my career, it was very much the right move for me. It's a terrific club. It's arguably one of the most famous non-league clubs there is in the country, and a brilliant working class town is Blyth, and the people resemble the club. They're great supporters. But for me, it was the right time in my career to go and play somewhere else after Gateshead, after the terrific 8 years I had. And to go to Blyth was the next option for me, with staying in the North East. It's something that I've loved every minute of. I've been there 2.5 years now, and I love it. I love the club. It's a terrific club with terrific people, and totally different being part-time. You're in a totally different environment, only being with your teammates sort of twice a week and on a Saturday. But it's been a good learning curve, and one that I've really, really enjoyed.
And you've had a bit of success with Blyth as well. You won the Northumberland Senior Cup. What was that experience like? Because obviously you played at St James's Park. It's probably one of the biggest stadiums in the North East. So what was that like for you?
Amazing. Yeah, it's a special stadium. Obviously I've been there to watch a few games of football, and a special day really. You always want to try and play at the biggest stadiums, and like I say, I was lucky enough to play at Wembley when I was younger. I played at St James's last year, which was amazing, and to walk out and be in the change rooms, sharing a change room really with players that you'd watch on TV every week. You know, I think we played in there on the Thursday, and on the Saturday Liverpool were there, so you would have been in the same change rooms as Mo Salah and people like that. So looking back, it's brilliant. You know, my family there, and just sort of playing in that sort of occasion and game was something I will always remember. And thankfully we've got through to the final again this year, which is also at St James's. So we'll be back there again in a couple of months' time, and hopefully we can replicate the win.
And what's the kind of like experience of being a professional, like the sort of schedule that you have? Obviously you're a professional now, you're sort of part-time type professional. So what would you say like the schedule's like during the week?
So professional schedule, it's hectic, it's busy. You train every day, so you normally train Monday, Tuesday, you have Wednesday off, you then train Thursday, Friday, and you play on a Saturday. So it's hectic, it's busy. You train hard obviously in the morning, you then probably in the gym in the afternoon. And it's just a case of managing yourself, managing your body. And when you're younger, you don't really think about it as much, but as you sort of get a bit older and the body doesn't quite work like it used to, you have to sort of manage yourself a little bit better. But I loved it. From being at Luton when I was younger to Gateshead, it's an environment that I really enjoyed, the full-time environment. You probably see your teammates arguably more than you see your family really when you're with them every single day in that environment. And the best change rooms that I've played in is the change rooms that we got on the best. The Gary Mills change room, for example, that year where the club was so successful, we had a great change room where we were together every day, and we were almost like a family in the end. So it's totally different to being part-time, like I mentioned before, where you're only in a couple of days a week. Lads have got jobs, so it's totally different in terms of full-time football is your job. Part-time lads have got other jobs where they're then coming to training on the evening. So a totally different dynamic in terms of what you're doing in training and being together. But I think both work just as well as each other at different points in your career.
Yeah. In 2019 you started the JJ O'Donnell Elite Football Academy. What made you start that?
Yeah, it was something that I sort of fell into really. One of my good friends, he had a coaching company, and it was his time for him to end his company, and I took over from that in a way really. But yeah, it was founded in 2019, and we've grown incredibly in the last 3 years. We started out with 8 children in a sports hall at Gateshead Leisure Centre, and now we're coaching over 150 children per week. So amazing the growth that we've had. I didn't overly plan for it to be like that, to be honest, but it's been exponential in terms of how we've grown. But it's bringing back memories of my childhood, to be honest. You know, all I wanted to do when I was a kid was get a ball and go and play football, and ever since I was 6 and 7, that's all I wanted to do. So when I see the children who we coach now turn up, it's the biggest passion for me is seeing these children playing football, and I'm almost reliving my youth in a way, because I know that's exactly what I wanted to do when I was their age. And it's just a great feeling that I can try and help these children on their pathway with football, and seeing them play with a smile and developing is a great feeling for me.
Brilliant. And obviously you started that in 2019, and this isn't a topic that I really like to bring up, but the pandemic. What was it like on your career and obviously the coaching side of it?
Tough, yeah, really tough. It was obviously no one knew how to handle it because it was so new to everyone probably in the world, and It had a big impact on the coaching company. Obviously the children couldn't work for a little while, but we tried to adapt in terms of online stuff. We used to do Zoom calls with the players during the week, and just to keep them active really, and sort of still engaged in what we were trying to do. But as a player, we were lucky in terms of we were the last level of football that was still able to continue through the pandemic. Although it was behind closed doors, we were still able to play and train. So I feel lucky in that aspect that we were still able to do that. But I know it had a psychological impact on a lot of people, and as a business owner and a coaching owner, where children come to you, you realise that with how long the pandemic went on, that children were going to come back to you as different children because they hadn't been active. And from a coaching point of view, you almost had to adapt in what you were doing, not as a technical point of view with children, but almost as a psychological and a social aspect. That children would then come to you having been through something like that, where they might not have been outside for a while, not interacted with other people for a while. And at that age that we deal with, that's quite big in their terms of growth and how they grow as people. So it was different for everybody. It was tough for us as a coaching company. It was tough for us as people as well. But we've come out on the end of that, and we're in a really good place now.
So what's the future? What's the future hold for JJ O'Donnell?
Yeah, I think I'll play as long as I can. You know, I'm one of them. As you can probably tell from what I've said before, I love football. It's been my life since I was 7. It's all I know really, and I've got a great passion for it. I really have. I've got a great passion for trying to get children off their PlayStations and Xboxes and playing football. And the plan is to keep it growing. You know, I'm never one to say we want to be this big, but I really believe in what we do here. You know, we've grown from 8 children to 150 per week in 3 years. So the plan is to keep going and give more children the opportunity to play football, and ultimately where we've always been with our coaching company is to enjoy playing football. There's nothing more important than playing football with a smile on your face, and we like to think of all the sessions that our children do for us is they go away from us and have a smile on their face. So the plan is to keep going and see how much bigger it can get, but I'm sure that the main aim for us is for the children that are with us and the children that will be with us in the future is just to enjoy playing football.
And you've obviously got your early football academy, but you're also starting is it ODO?
ODO.
So can you give a bit of insight on that?
Yes, it's just broadening out really. We've obviously, with my background, we've always been a football company really, but we've been asked over the last probably few months really is to sort of delve into other sports and other sort of areas of sport, because it gives more children the opportunity. So our coaching course, summer coaching programs and school holiday programs now incorporate multi-sports, which is different sports for different children. So you might get a little child who's not really into football but might love golf, hockey, cricket, rounders, stuff like that. So we want to try and cater for more children, give more children the opportunity to be active and enjoy what they're doing. And I think it's really important to give them children that opportunity. And working with local schools in Gateshead in the North East, they've approached us to go and deliver sessions for them. So it's really important, I think, to give other children who might not be interested in football the opportunity to explore and enjoy different sports. And with ODO Sports Coaching, that will give them kids the opportunity.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much for the interview.
Spot on, mate. Is that all right?